Okay, hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Gentry in a Jiffy. If you're not familiar with this new segment by now, you really should get with the program. But basically, this is just a shorter, quick, concise videos where I try and answer some of your most frequently asked questions. Now, before I get into this, I'll do a wristwatch check. I'm wearing my little SKX. It is Seiko Saturday, so I had to put a Seiko on. This is my modded Panther Cub 2 that I recently just did a video on. Absolutely besotted, over the moon, chuffed to bits, and all the regular cliches that I seem to say. But anyway, yeah, so talking of the SKX, it kind of ties in nicely with the subject of today's video. So the question is, and this was left on a previous video, this is from Alexander. I won't say your surname just in case, but he says, how do I collect watches as a high school student? So basically, I presume he means on a budget. And I gotta say, as a high school student, first of all, when I do get this emailed in quite a lot, and it really makes me happy because every time I hear about young people, God, it makes me, I feel old saying that, but every time I hear younger people getting into the hobby, enjoying watches and the wider sense horology as well, it just makes me so excited. This is deeply inspiring for me, and yeah, so anyway, let's get to the answer, shall we? Now, I've whittled down 10 key brands. There are, of course, endless amounts, but this really is the go-to 10 brands I would recommend. By the way, all of these watches, most of the brands mentioned, their sweet spot is anywhere from 50 to 500 and beyond. But you can build an entire collection with some of these for just a few $100s. This is in no order of preference, this is just for reference, okay? First of all, we have ORIENT, of course, Japanese brand, started in the 1950s, completely in-house. Very, very impressive for the money. I love their clean, classic, tastefully done designs. For example, the Bambino, which is a wonderful dress watch, recently updated with hacking. There's even a small seconds version. They got the Mako divers, which are actually, I think they are ISO certified. These are the SKX killers in many ways. Yeah, okay, they're not movie star iconic quality, but they are cracking nonetheless. If you want a chronograph, they do a quartz, the Neo, which is a fantastic kind of Daytona-esque, and I've talked about it before in the best chronographs. I think it was under 500 or something. Really, really cool cracking pieces. Oh, and by the way, guys, everything I'm talking about, I'm talking from first-hand experience. I would never recommend a brand or a watch that I've never held in the flesh. I know it seems to be a big thing on YouTube, especially if people recommend watches they've never even seen in their life, but you guys know that Gentry doesn't do this, right? So, another Japanese brand, we've got Citizen here, over 100 years old, from Tokyo, a very strong, illustrious history, many achievements under their belt, the first to produce an atomic wristwatch. They have their EcoDrive technology, which is just phenomenal and really keeps costs down. Super efficient solar technology, basically. There's the Chronomaster, which achieved, I think, plus 5 seconds a year in accuracy. So when it comes to horological achievements, Citizen has definitely got it down pat. And I really do appreciate their quality here. And I've stated many times that, in my opinion, at the entry level, they're better than Seiko, much to the derision of some of the Seiko fans. But anyway, I'm being honest. I have to be honest. So I've owned many of these over the years. The NAVI-HARBOR aviation pieces, the professional ProMaster divers, the Skyhawk AT has a radio control. I had a perpetual calendar, which was just absolutely feature rich, very, very solid, got the performance, and of course with the EcoDrive technology there, you just don't have to think about it. Okay, next we have an American icon. Of course it has to be Hamilton. I've just recently bought a vintage Hamilton. By the way, guys, talking vintage, these are all brand new watches. I think for the newcomer, leave the vintage stuff for later on when you've, you know, got to know watches a little bit more, because obviously more risky. You don't have any of the risks with any of these options here. So started in 1892, it's from Pennsylvania. Now they were bought by Swatch, I believe in 1984, so they're Swiss now, but predominantly they were American for the longest period of their existence. Many icons under their belt. Marine chronometers of World War II. They've started in over 400 400 movies. Elvis wore the Ventura, of course. The railroad pocket watches, that was integral to accuracy during that era, and you know, the expansionism of North America. In my opinion, the sweet spot really is their field watches. They haven't really changed since World War II. Aesthetically, only technically, of course, they're much better. You get a Swiss-made ETA in there, the mechanical manual wind, or for a little bit less, we're talking about $400 here. The quartz is obviously cheaper. The field watches are legible, functional. It's a grown-up watch that will, you know, it will last you a lifetime. But if you're willing to go to $1,000, they have things like the X Patrol, which I owned, which is a stunning 7750 caliber based aviation chronograph. There's just so many Hamiltons, I wouldn't know where to begin. Absolutely astounding watches. Clean, tastefully done, very classic, a true kind of, they're very American in their design language, and you can spot a Hamilton a mile away. Seiko, of course, where I cannot make this video without mentioning Seiko. Hugely important, world-changing, horological tour de force with a unmistakable history of innovation that we could just talk about for hours. My personal favorite brand of all time. They have the Seiko 5s launched in the 1960s that were deliberately designed to bring the cost of mechanical watches to a whole new audience. Very affordable. There is a never-ending plethora of choice there. God, we could talk about the Seiko 5s until the end of time. Terrible pun there, but yeah, we could. Of course, there's the SKX. Mine is modded, so that will cost you extra, but it's a movie star, it's an icon, it's completely in-house as well, which is very impressive. For a little bit more, 400, 500, 600, we're looking at their mid-range, which is very attainable with the higher-end movements, things like the Alpinist, which I recently reviewed, the Cocktail Time, the Saab 033, very elegant, very refined, stunning piece, unbeatable at this price range. Next we have Tissot, a big heavyweight Swiss brand, part of the Swatch group now, but really the backbone of the Swatch group, and renowned internationally for their quality. Tissot were founded in 1853. They were actually the largest manufacturer of Swiss pocket watches in the world. They specialize in more kind of affordable entry-level Swiss timepieces. Again, we have so many firsts, so many history of innovation, collaborations with Omega, La Magna. It just goes on and on and on. I've discussed them to death, but they're still innovating to this day. Look at the Powermatic 80-based movements, which have really given them an edge in affordability and longevity in their performance, because they've slowed them down, a longer power reserve, less friction on the moving parts, etc. So amazing brand. Look at the Sea Stars, which are gorgeous. There's Visodate with the day-date complication. The Leloc for very more kind of classic look, very tastefully done. And if you want the chronograph, they have the Quartz V8, which is very Daytona-esque again. One I personally owned donkeys ago before the channel, the PRC 200, which I think is gorgeous. Another massive heavyweight American brand, this time it's TIMEX, founded in 1854. They started with clocks, but really they expanded beyond watches. In the Cold War, they produced some technology for the American missile defense program, this kind of things. In the 1930s, they had the Mickey Mouse watch with Ingersoll. In the 1960s, they actually became the largest producer of mechanical watches of all time with watches like the MARLIN, and revolutionized affordable watchmaking with the pin and plate movements. Recently, we've seen the MARLIN being reissued with a seagull manual wind movement, which is fantastic. I've reviewed both of them. Check those out. Classic dress watches with the phrase, they can take a licking and they keep on ticking. I adore them. But they also do some fantastic quartz, kind of sporty, more vintage-inspired pieces like the NAVI-HARBOR I've also reviewed. And their field watches, again, another maker of field watches in World War II, World War I, just like Hamilton. Check out the Expedition field watches. Amazing value for money. I mean, these range from basic quartz with Indiglo, which is their own technology, starting at 60 to 100. Another world-changing Japanese company. It is, of course, Casio. Founded just after the war in 1946. Principally, they're makers of cameras, calculators, phones, musical equipment, all of this kind of stuff, but they took that expertise in electronics, and they became the world's first mass producer of digital watches. With many, many icons under their belt, they kept innovating, they kept bringing new things to the table. Look at the G-Shocks, which are fantastic, perfect for a young person with the active lifestyle, utilized by militaries and firemen. And I've done countless videos about my love for the G-Shock from 1983. Earlier, there's the data banks, the Back to the Future, a movie icon in itself, and of course the most popular digital watch of all time, the Casio F91W, which I also own. Only $10, unbelievable value, very important brand indeed. So yeah, you cannot ignore Casio. Back to the Swiss. So we keep kind of like ping-ponging from Japan to the Swiss. It is, of course, Swatch. Founded in 1983, the Swiss's response to the quartz crisis, they wanted to create something affordable, fun, trendy, a bit more lively, a bit more challenging, and of course quartz-based. Well, now you can get the automatics, and they revolutionized the world in recent years with the System 51. Swatch actually is a portmanteau for second watch. That was the principle. They wanted something that you could just buy affordably, change with your outfit, have fun, to make Swiss watches more accessible to young people again. And you know what? It worked. It certainly worked. There's so many designs, I don't even know where to start. There's a Swatch for everybody, from really wacky and crazy, collectible, avant-garde, to dressy and simple and elegant and timeless, to kind of almost satires of icons as well, from Fliegers to, I don't know, there's even one they did for Madonna that had bits of lace on it, and all fur and all kinds of craziness. Obviously, the rare ones are extremely expensive and collectible, but the great thing is on Amazon you can get them from as little as $30, $40 and upwards. They're just so enjoyable. You gotta try Swatch. It is a design icon, undoubtedly. Okay, next we have VICTORINOX. Now, VICTORINOX is actually quite an old company, founded in 1884, known as Swiss Army. They originally made bayonets for the Swiss Army. VICTORINOX's main achievement was becoming the largest manufacturer of knives in the world, then diversified into cutlery, and then in recent decades into everything from luggage to outerwear, you name it. In 1989, they started turning that expertise and world-renowned respect for their quality into watches. The transition was seamless. Their watches are renowned for being well-made, affordable. Also, I think the I.N.O.X especially brought something new, brought that kind of tough outdoorsman thinking into the watches. This was a watch that you could run over with a tank, and they did all kinds of crazy tests. I've reviewed it, have a look back. Now they have an automatic version, which is, yeah, it's got a bit of a Nautilus look to it. Very cool indeed. But they also do traditional, the infantry quartz watches, very affordable, more classic, quality. They really are. And of course, they have the Maverick 2 quartz chronographs, which I incidentally owned before I had a channel. Last but by no means least, it is Bulova, now bought by Citizen, but they are actually from New York, still headquartered here. And they have an amazing history, one of the most underrated brands of all time. Their legacy of innovation, the Accutron, which was this, I personally own one, a very important pre-quartz innovator. It used the resonating tuning fork as a means of regulation. I mean, these are fantastic. In 2010, they updated it with the Precisionist, taking that same thinking but updating it again. It's a bit of a shame that Precisionist lines, from dressy to divers to the moon-going chronograph, they were famously worn on Apollo 15, the second moon watch, so to speak. Amazing value for money, all priced from a couple of hundred and beyond. Very well made and highly underrated and underappreciated in my opinion. Just to throw one quirky option in there, they have the Curve, which is the world's first curved quartz chronograph movement designed around the curvature of your wrist. So their history it's so illustrious and so amazing. You've got to check Bulova out. There's plenty there. Guys, do share your favorites. I know a lot of you are going to suggest brands that I haven't even touched on, but this is 10 to start with. A little bit of everything for everyone. And you know what? You don't have to be young. You can be my age. I'm still buying these and enjoying them. And that's what it's all about. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Please do share your questions for future episodes in the comments below, as well as your recommendations. Let's try and help out as many people as we can. Thank you very much to Alexander for the outstanding question. Good luck in your studies. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it and found it useful. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. Okay, ciao.
This is a public service reminder for the good gentry. Please follow us on Instagram, join the Facebook UGWC group, and click on the bell to keep notified of new videos. Don't forget to keep it positive, keep it gentry, onwards and upwards. Thank you.